You are listening to Housekeepers Chat by the United States Department of Agriculture from 1926. Disclaimer: this is read from a historic archive document. Do not assume content reflects current scientific knowledge, policies, or practices. This broadcast was aired 3rd of December 1926.
The first thing on Aunt Sammy's program today is a little talk on how to furnish the living room. There's a menu, too, a combination of foods not yet broadcast by Aunt Sammy.
Today's program centers around a question I received almost 2 weeks ago. Here is the question. I am going to furnish a new home in January, and I should like to know a few general rules about the selection of color, especially as applied to draperies. Before I attempted to answer this, I talked to one of the women in the Bureau of Home Economics, who has made a special study of this very thing. Perhaps her suggestions will help you in furnishing your home. In selecting the color or colors to be used in the draperies, consider walls, floors, woodwork, and all the furnishings of the room. If you want figured curtains, choose a material with a background the same color as the walls, but slightly darker. The principal color in the design of the curtain material should repeat the color of the rug or upholstery. In any color scheme, black, gray, silver, or gold may be used as braid-on curtains, or in cushions, lampshades, bookends, vases, and other accessories. White window curtains are most attractive where the woodwork or the walls are white. The simplest color plan for the background of a room is worked out in shades, tints, and dark or dull tones of one color. In a color scheme of this kind, the walls and woodwork might be a soft gray-green, and the rugs a deeper gray-green. Effective curtains for a simple living room might be made of green chambray, with 2 rows of black bias, or military braid stitched on for a border. Doesn't that sound attractive? Or you might use green checked gingham with 3-inch wide ruffles. Still another suggestion for a living room with more expensive furnishings. The curtains might be of gray poplin, banded with green velvet. Almost any color could be used in the furnishings against this background. Orange and gray striped upholstery with at least 1 green chair would be attractive. Then you might use vivid landscapes on the wall, orange-red pottery, and touches of silver or black repeated in cushions and lampshades. Now let's take another room, one that has a cold and chilly look. It needs brightening up. We will have the walls a pale orange, almost a cream color. The walls will blend into soft, warm brown linen side curtains and lustrous orange gauze glass curtains. Wouldn't that be cheerful and pleasing? The important point in working out a one-color scheme is to have a variety of textures and strong contrasts. These are supplied in this plan by the dull pale orange walls, the brown of the draperies, and the orange gauze, which is between the other 2 in color. If the rug and much of the furniture are in plain colors, the curtains may be cretonne or printed linen, having a dominant color which carries out the plan of the background. Too much plain color makes a room severe and uninviting. If you want something more subtle than the one-color scheme, use 2 or more colors which have one hue in common. Pure green, emerald green, blue-green, and yellow-green would compose a harmonious color scheme, or olive green, bottle green, and grade green. With a color plan of this kind, one might have a pillow, a bowl of red-violet, or some other contrasting color. Let me give you a word of advice. If you have never bought curtain material, get a sample of the material and try it against the wall and against your upholstery and woodwork by daylight and by lamplight before you make your purchase. Notice also the effect of light shining through it. And one more suggestion, before we talk about today's dinner. The color scheme of the curtains should be planned with the whole house in mind. The strongest colors in adjacent rooms should harmonize. I know a man who almost suffered a mental breakdown because his wife insisted on having a rose and blue living room, a green hall, and an orange dining room. Every room was all right, taken separately, but as you went from one to another, you felt as though you were looking through an old-fashioned kaleidoscope. The home economics specialist from whom I obtained my color information has just prepared a bulletin called Principles of Window Curtaining, which I wish all of you could see. It is well written and full of excellent illustrations. I have seen a number of the curtains which are pictured in the bulletin. In fact, some of them are hanging in the homes of my friends right now. The bulletin is number 1516, and it is called Principles of Window Curtaining. It is sent free on request. For those in our modern-day audience on YouTube, you may find a link to this bulletin in the description below. Before I broadcast the menu, I want to read you an extract from a letter from a man in St. Louis. Here's what he says. The Housekeepers chat has become very popular in this part of the Middle West. By helping to improve the meals, you are assisting in no small way in the solution of the divorce evil. Isn't that interesting? I was so pleased with the letter that I looked up my favorite lemon pie recipe as a special treat for this radio friend. I hope he's listening. Here's the menu. Bean soup, macaroni with cheese, stuffed onions or stewed tomatoes and celery, cabbage salad or lettuce salad, and lemon pie. This is a very good menu from a dietetic standpoint, since each of the 5 foods is represented: proteins, vegetables, and fruits, starchy foods, sugar and fats. Minerals and vitamins too are provided. There's nothing like being up to snuff when it comes to meal planning. Let's begin with the bean soup, which may be made with any one of several kinds of beans: navy beans, lima beans, red kidney beans, black beans, pinto beans, and soybeans. Guess I haven't omitted any kind of bean. Half a pint of the dried beans will be enough for a family of 5. Soak them overnight. No, Louisa, I'm talking about the beans, not the family. Oh, very well, if I must be accurate. Soak the beans overnight in a quart of water. Cook them in the same water until very soft. If you like the flavor of onion, cook 1 or 2 slices with the beans. If you have a fireless cooker, you will find it excellent for cooking them. Mash the beans through a sieve when they are done. Add water and milk or stock, enough to make up a full quart. Of course, you may prepare a double quantity of bean soup and serve it twice if you like. All bean soups should have a little flour added to them as a binder to prevent the thick part from settling to the bottom. Mix a tablespoon of butter with a tablespoon of flour. Add a little of the hot soup and stir until it is smooth. Then add the remaining soup and salt and pepper to season. Heat to boiling, then cook in the double boiler about 10 minutes. Celery or any other appropriate vegetables may be cooked with the soup. They should be cut up in small pieces. A tablespoon of chopped parsley sprinkled over the soup at the last minute is an agreeable addition. A pinch of mustard and a little lemon juice are good when black beans are used. Some people like thinly sliced quarters of lemon over the top of the soup. Now put the macaroni in a buttered baking dish in alternate layers with the cheese sauce. Scatter the extra grated cheese over the top with some buttered breadcrumbs. Just before dinner, heat in the oven until the sauce and macaroni are thoroughly heated and the crumbs are brown. It takes some time for a dish of cold macaroni and cheese to heat through. It is better to reheat the sauce just before you combine it with the macaroni, even though both have been prepared ahead. With the macaroni and cheese, you will want a vegetable with a pronounced flavor, such as stuffed onions. You will need rather large onions, the Spanish variety if you can get them, or large Bermudas. Allow from a half to a whole onion for each person to be served according to your past experience with the family. Cut the onions in half. Parboil them gently until fairly tender, taking care not to get them out of shape. Lift them out of the water with a skimmer. Arrange them in a buttered pan or baking dish. If you have a glass or earthenware pie plate that can be put on the table, it is just the thing. Scoop out the onion centers. Chop them fine. Mix them with about an equal amount of buttered crumbs and a few chopped nut meats. These may be omitted, but they add to the flavor and novelty of the stuffed onions. Season the stuffing with salt and pepper. Fill into the cavities in the onions. Put in the bottom of the dish a few tablespoons of the water in which the onions were boiled, to keep them from drying out too much. Bake until the breadcrumbs are nicely browned. If tomatoes would be more popular with your family than onions, you might serve stewed tomatoes and celery with your macaroni and cheese. Cabbage or lettuce salad is appetizing with macaroni and cheese. Use your favorite salad dressing. If you want a different flavored salad dressing, add a little chili sauce to plain mayonnaise. Of course, if you serve tomatoes as a vegetable, you may not want chili sauce in your salad. A hearty dessert like a pie has its place at the end of such a dinner as this one, rather than after a meal of meat gravy and a number of vegetables. Modern housekeepers lessen the amount of cooking they do, and so are depending more and more on simple desserts, like home-canned fruits, fresh oranges, or a few cookies. However, we might as well make a festive occasion of this dinner and serve my lemon meringue pie. It isn't difficult to prepare. The lemon juice adds to the daily supply of vitamins, the egg yolks to the iron supply, and the white of the eggs add protein, as do the cheese and milk in the macaroni dish. If your pencils are handy, perhaps you'd like to take directions for the lemon pie. Start your lemon meringue pie by making an undercrust. Use your own recipe, or the following one, which makes enough for 2 crusts, one of which may be saved for another day. Sift 1½ cups of soft wheat or pastry flour with 1 teaspoon of salt. Work into this about 5½ to 7 tablespoons of fat with the tips of the fingers. Add about 2½ tablespoons of water, or just enough to make the dough correct for rolling. Roll it very lightly. Pre-bake a single crust at about 450 degrees Fahrenheit until it barely begins to color. Now make the fillings separately. You will need 4 tablespoons of lemon juice, 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, 1 cup of boiling water, a pinch of salt, 3/4 cup of sugar, tablespoons of butter, 2 egg yolks, the grated rind of half a lemon. Mix the sugar, salt, and cornstarch together, and add it to the boiling water, stirring constantly until the cornstarch is cooked. This will take about 5 or 10 minutes. Now add the lemon juice, grated lemon rind, and well-beaten egg yolks and butter. Cook all together for not more than a minute. Pour into the crust and spread over the top a meringue made by thoroughly beating the 2 egg whites, with 2 tablespoons of sugar added when the egg whites are stiff. Use a wire whisk and beat the white on a platter to make them light and fluffy. Bake at a low temperature or about 250 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 minutes. Right here is a good place to bring in a question asked me last week. What makes my meringue tough and watery? The meringue is cooked in too hot an oven. This toughens the protein and squeezes out the syrup. Try your meringue in the slow oven and see how much better the product is. Let's check the menu. Bean soup, macaroni with cheese, stuffed onions or stewed tomatoes and celery, cabbage or lettuce salad, and lemon meringue pie. I have a good many recipes planned for next week. I think I shall begin with salads and salad dressings, since so many of you have asked for them. This reminds me, I haven't mentioned the radio cookbooks. Since yesterday, if you are a new listener, perhaps you have not heard about these cookbooks, which are sent free to every housewife who listens in regularly to your local radio station. Many of the recipes are the result of experimental work done by the United States Bureau of Home Economics. All of the recipes have been tested and approved by the Bureau, so we know the proportions are right.
This broadcast was researched and produced by BreakAway Empire LLC.